All right. I would like to call the September 15th, 21 regular meeting on the Fenton Community High School District 100 Board meeting to order. May I have a roll call?
Yes, Figueroa.
Here.
Cade.
Here.
Jalowick.
Here.
Redzinski.
Here.
Rago. Ting-Pao-Pong.
Here.
Wiedemann.
Here.
Okay, we have a quorum. Please join me in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
James, please help us read our Fenton missions, beliefs, and Bison Way statements, please.
Our mission statement: cultivate successful, passionate learners through rigor, relevance, and relationships. Our belief statement: successful, passionate learners thrive when we champion innovative teaching and engaged learning. School and home collaborate effectively. We provide a safe, secure, and caring environment. We infuse social-emotional learning into academics and culture. Diversity empowers our learning community. We prepare students to fulfill their civic responsibilities. Our Bison Way: students and adults at Fenton High School create a safe, caring, empathetic environment where we believe in each other, respect diversity, communicate openly, grow together, and hold each other to high expectation to become the leaders and innovators of the future.
Thank you, James. We'll now be open to public hearing for the 2021-2022 budget.
Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me okay?
Good evening.
Okay, good. Okay, we are here tonight. Here's the public hearing. We're going to review the budget, the final budget, and I'll focus on the changes this evening. But I thought I'd start out with the really recapping the budget process and looking at the budget components that go into it. So the first slide, the second slide. Legal requirements for the budget adoption. We're down there to the bolded one, number 3, public hearing with public notice in advance. The budget, as I think everyone is aware, it has to be approved, adopted by September 30th, and then it is submitted to the Illinois State Board of Education. So the factors that impact the budget, and again, this is kind of review, but just thought I'd run through it. The fund balance, property tax levy, projected enrollment, staffing and benefits, collective bargaining agreements, capital projects, infrastructure, long-term revenue and expenditure projections, and deficit spending budget reduction plans if necessary. The fund overviews, there's 8 funds. The bolded ones, the 10, 20, 40, 50, and 70 are the operating funds, what we refer to. The other funds are special purpose funds. But the operating funds are really what we're going to focus on tonight. And then we get into the sources of revenue. We have our local sources, property taxes, corporate personal property replacement taxes, student and other fees, interest on investments. Then we get into the state funding, evidence-based funding, formerly general state aid, our mandated categoricals, and that's primarily our transportation state aid. We do get some smaller grants in the ed fund, but that's the bulk of it there. And then our federal sources, Title I, II, III, and IDEA grants, the Perkins grant, and our ESSER 1, 2, and 3, which we'll talk about a little bit later on, and the National School Lunch Program. And then the expenditure types that go into the budget that are supported by the budget, I should say, as well. The instructional programs, our support services and administration, operations and maintenance, technology, transportation, again, capital projects, infrastructure, and debt service. So this is kind of a snapshot of our operating funds, and it compares the final budget to the tentative budget and by revenues, or looking at the revenues here. Local sources, as it states there, is going up, projected to go up 1.8%, or almost $515,000. State aid is down slightly by 4.2%. Federal aid is up by 23.2%. And I'll explain a little bit later on what's driving these variances. But overall, the revenues are projected to increase in the operating funds by 2.9%, or about $941,187. And then on the expenditure side, operating funds again, we've kind of categorized all the objects or the classifications of where we spend the monies by object. Salaries and benefits are really up slightly, just up over 1%. Purchase services by 12.5%. Supplies up by 1.6%. Equipment capital outlay up by 19%, and tuition other fees or expenses, I should say, are 0.2%. So overall, in the operating fund, expenses are projected to go up 1.7%, or $547,737 from the tentative budget. And you're familiar with this slide. This just kind of gives you a snapshot of all the operating funds and then the non-operating funds below there. The yellow highlighted columns subtotal the revenues of that $34,057,076 number, and then our expenditures of $33,276,558 for a variance or a positive balance of $760,518, and that's up from the tentative budget of about $367,000. So to kind of go through what's driving those changes on the edge, it's really three funds are primarily the reason for that, and the ed fund, O&M, and transportation. So revenues in the ed fund went up 2.9%, are projected to go up that amount to $825,000. Corporate personal property replacement taxes are up by $376,000. That's a number that's provided to us by the Illinois Department of Revenue, so that's their latest number. All this is the most recent data that we have, so that's a greater boost than we were anticipating. And our ESSER and Title I grant reimbursements, that's up by about $366,000. And then NEDSEC is up about $72,000. That's our annual final reconciliation or refund of prior year's expenses is what that is. So that's a typical amount we get every year back from when they do their final billing at NEDSEC, the programs that we're involved with there. So that adds up to that $825,000. On the expenditure side, the expenses are projected to increase by 1.1%, or $314,000. Salary and benefits are up by 0.3%, or $64,000 roughly. Final staffing, hiring assignments, lane changes, all those types of things are really what's driving that change there. Purchase services up by 12.9%, or $217,000. That's our contracted nursing services, some rentals, and some of these are associated with COVID-related expenses, and our technology expenses for some additional software licensing and things like that. And equipment capital outlay up by 33%, or $25,000. That seems like a lot. It's a relatively small budget, but it is going up by that $25,000 number. And then as we move on into the operations and maintenance fund, the revenues increasing by 6.8%, or $172,000. So we are budgeting ESSER funds both on the revenue and expense side in not only the education fund but the operations and maintenance fund. So the reimbursement is projected to be up to about $157,000. And then miscellaneous revenues, $15,000 that we typically get in. It could be from a variety of sources, sales, or if we sell old equipment or something like that, but that's what that accounts for there. And then on the expenditure side, increasing by 8.1%, or $214,000. Salary adjustments up by 4.7%, or about $56,000. That does include an added replacement custodian that was not in the tentative budget, so that's what's kind of driving that piece. Purchase services up by about almost 21% or $130,000. We did budget an additional $100,000 there for ventilation improvements, and that would be ESSER funded as well. So that's what's driving that increase. And then supplies, PPE supplies, other supplies associated with cleaning and operational needs, up by 5.5 or $27,000 from the tentative. And then the next fund, transportation fund, revenues and expenditures. Not a lot to report here. As expected, it is decreased by 9.8% or about $98,000. That's due to our reduced state aid. You know, when we get reimbursed from the state for transportation aid, it's in arrears. So last year, as you are all aware, our transportation program was down dramatically with mileage and travels and all that. So the expected reimbursements are following suit with that activity. And then we didn't make any changes to the expenditures. They're unchanged. But we did include a $400,000 interfund loan from the working cash fund. This fund really doesn't have an adequate fund balance. The other funds do. This one does not. We've struggled a little bit over the years with this fund because transportation aid from the state continues to decline. But we have the funds to make that transfer. That's the purpose of the working cash fund, really, is to provide support for other funds. We did this about 3 years ago as well. And when that happens, a formal resolution will be brought to the board to act on that. So that's not going to happen tonight. So those are the big pieces there with the 3 funds. And then our ESSER expenditures, just so the board's aware of where the money's going with the various 3 sources of ESSER funds, 1, 2, and 3. The bulk of ESSER 1 was already spent and accounted for last year. That was about $186,000. ESSER 2 represents the biggest amount here of that $702,000 if you look at that summary at the bottom there. And then ESSER 3, $480,000. So all in, across all the objects there between salary, benefits, purchase, service, supplies, and equipment, almost $1.2 million in ESSER funds is in this budget, included in this budget. And then the initiatives, you've seen this before, but just kind of run through it as a reminder. The Director of Equity and Innovations included in this grant, the SEL counselor, social worker, our learning lab supports, our furniture. You may have seen some of that in the building, learning spaces throughout the building that it's placed at. Student desks and chairs, which are being deployed soon, if not already, some of it has happened already. Air quality improvements, as we kind of talked about. You're already aware of the ionization project, and we've got some additional ventilation, as I had mentioned earlier as well. And then PPE supplies, of course, would be included. Not really an initiative, but a necessity, I guess I would say, with the ESSER spending. And then revenues versus expenditures. It gives you kind of an 8-year historical perspective. 4 of the past years have been balanced budgets. 6 of the 8 on this chart have been balanced budgets, so we're pleased to report that. And this year is no exception. It's another balanced budget. You can see it is up quite a bit from the previous year, and that really is driven by the additional ESSER grant funds that are included in the budget. So in summary, we are presenting a balanced budget, operating fund surplus of that $760,518. The budget, as I mentioned, does include ESSER funds, the initiatives that we've outlined as well, and that'll be happening throughout the year. So the next steps, we're near the bottom there. We are at the bottom. September 15th, present approve the 2021-22 budget, so that's where we're at tonight. You'll also later on tonight formally act on the budget, and it is included as required on the ISB, Illinois State Board of Education Form 50-36. That's the state budget form that we submit the budget on. The cover page is a signature page that we ask the board members are required to have them sign. All of you sign that as well, and then that'll be submitted to the State Board of Education. So that's my recap. of changes from the tentative, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Okay, and I want to open it up to the public too. Are there any questions or clarifications needed at this time from the audience members as well attending? Or anybody else here?
Could you go back to the slide that has where the ESSER funds are going?
Sure.
It's about 4 back. There.
Oh.
Yeah.
One more. You want that one, Patty, or the what outlines the?
No, this one. Thanks.
And then just real quick, Leo, our secretary here, will you please read the attestation certificate of the 2021-2022 tentative budget preparation and availability, please?
Sure. Attestation of 2021-2022 tentative budget preparation and availability. I, Leonel Figueroa, board member and secretary, attest that tentative budget for the fiscal year 2021-2022 was prepared and made available for public inspection for a period of at least 30 days prior to hearing.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
So that 400,000 that is going to be probably pulled into transportation, it's sitting right now in
The working cash fund?
working cash.
Yeah.
Okay. And have we had to pull that much over before?
We did I think it was the same amount we did a couple of years ago. Yeah,
Thanks.
sure.
Thank you, Bruce.
Well done.
And it's probably good to note that the ESSER funds are the use it or lose it, right? So if we don't spend it, we lose those funds. So we need to make sure we spend that and for the education system. So we're going to close hearing here. We will now close the public hearing for the 2021-2022 budget. We will now return to the regular board education meeting. James?
Sure. It's recognitions right now. I'm going to hand over the microphone to Dr. Benson, our principal.
Good evening. Fenton teachers nominated 3 students for the 2021 National Council of Teachers of English, or the Ncte, Achievement Awards. This is a school-based writing program for high school juniors established in 1957 as a way to encourage students to write and to recognize some of the best student writers in the nation. Only 284 students from across the United States were accepted into the program. We have 3 students that we're going to honor here tonight. 2 of us could not join us. Anna Mycor and Xochitl Quiñones were selected as winners and will receive a certificate of superior writing. Imani Kashif was confirmed as eligible for the contest and will receive a certificate of nomination. Mr. Tony Oakston is here tonight to tell us more about the program and these very talented writers. Anna and Imani, as I said, were unavailable tonight, but Sochi is here. So, Mr. Oakston, come on forward and please tell us more.
Thank you. I'm Tony Oakson. I'm a teacher in the English department, and I thank the Board of Education for the opportunity to recognize these outstanding student writers. What happens with the student writers in this program is that it's open to juniors, and they're nominated by the English department. It's limited by enrollment, so to be selected as a nominee is really a distinguishing honor in itself. Students in the contest submit 2 writing submissions. One is a sample of their best work, up to 6 pages, and the other is a themed writing on a topic selected by Ncte. Last year, the topic was about community. So students submit that, and they are evaluated by a team of teachers for their expression of ideas, their language use, and their unique perspective and voice. Rebecca Norris and I Rebecca is another English teacher in the department, worked together to select our nominees, again, who were Amani Kashif, Anna Mykor, and Soshi Quinonez. Soshi is here tonight, and she is going to give just a kind of summary of her submission. So, Soshi?
Okay. Sorry. First and foremost, I wanted to thank my parents and grandparents for having inspired and supported my writing, and I'm like tearing up now because I love them. I know how proud they are of me, and I dedicated my writing to them. Sorry. I would also like to thank my English teachers, especially Mr. Oakson and Mr. Escobedo. And then, if it's okay with everyone, I'd like to repeat this in Spanish so that my dad understands.
Sure.
Okay. Me gustaría agradecer a mis padres y abuelos por haber inspirado y apoyado mi escritura. Sé lo orgullosos que están de mí y les dediqué mi escritura. También me gustaría agradecer a mis profesores de inglés, especialmente al señor Oakson y al señor Escobedo. And then I think I'm just going to read a quick little summary of my best work as well as my themed work. So my first two submissions for best work are excerpts from short stories I had to write for my creative writing class. Both were inspired by songs that I love, with paradoxical elaboration being loosely based on a breakup I experienced, and one, The Day Met the Night, being based on the concept for a short story I've toyed with. The three poems, Yellow Shoes, People Pleaser, and Karmic Partners, were more freeing to write, with Yellow Shoes following internal monologues I have at my job at Starbucks, while People Pleaser was written after an especially interesting therapy session where I realized I was a severe people pleaser. Finally, Karmic Partners is based on a relationship where both people are mutually at fault, with the narrator struggling to process the idea of losing her partner. I pride myself on being completely vulnerable with my emotions as I write, and I believe good writing carries a piece of the writer with it. And then for my themed work, it was called, I titled it Living Again, and it tells my story of struggling with severe mental illnesses and how much the people I surround myself with have helped me recover. I wanted to bring to light how fortunate I am to have a loving, platonic community that brought me back to life. When I read the prompt, I had been listening to Fantasy by Kai Dreams, and I've always loved listening to that song while with friends because it encapsulates the love I have for them, as well as the hope for the best in their lives. I decided to scatter the lyrics throughout the scenes that are loosely based on my own memories with loved ones, as well as quotes from my favorite book, Circe by Madeline Miller, and hope to connect to people with the feeling of your life being renewed, and to serve as a reminder that we can each create a new world for ourselves. Thank you.
I'm going to take a quick picture over here with the board, if you don't mind. Yeah, just come this way.
Thanks, Tony.
Take your mask off.
Excuse me, sorry. Let's see, public comments. Mary, do we have any public comments? As a reminder, public comments are limited to 3 minutes per speaker with a limit of 30 minutes per topic.
We have no public speakers this evening.
Okay, great. Let's go to, thank you.
Gracias.
Good night.
James, let's go to informational items.
Absolutely. Last
Good
Friday.
Good night.
Thank you.
Last Friday was our 9/11 Fenton Remembrance. It was amazing. It was solemn. Well done. Absolutely fantastic. Again, we would like to reiterate and thank the Chicago Bears, Ncte Company, our parents, our teachers, our board, our staff, our students, our administrators, first responders from City of Wooddale, Village of Bensenville, and other organizations and other towns there that attended. A huge shout out to Mr. and Coach Matt Lynch, who put this all together. It's amazing. We've been putting this all to work this last month. Also, I would also like to send a huge shout out to Rick Cambick, who's here present today, and Mary Timmons. Matt definitely did all the work, but he had an army of individuals behind him to support him. So, fantastic. Next up is our parent outreach. We also last week had an amazing parent outreach. We had the Padres Unidos. We had about 50 to 60 individuals there. Thank you, Leo, for attending. The topic for both outreach, we also had a Polish outreach for parents. There were about 12 of them there. That's led by one of our staff member, Kathy Sater. The topic was basically how to navigate the American educational school system, how to navigate Fenton. And we had a chance with Sam, myself, and Leo to walk around and just answer questions, whatever they might have in regards to Fenton and how we do business here, our culture, our belief statement, our mission, and our future goals. Leo, any comments really would you like to share since you visited both
One of the main
groups?
questions it was about the COVID, and
Mhm.
I'm gonna say that principal and the superintendent did a terrific job. They asked as many questions, even in Spanish. I'm gonna say that James did a good job in the Spanish speaking presentation. He did terrific.
Polish, más o menos.
Yeah, but I hear that people were concerned, and after talking to James, they were really satisfied with the questions. In the same matter with the Spanish. Well, actually, it was more participation because Mr. Castro was there, and the two police officers. So it was a good turnaround for the Spanish speaking.
Thank
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
So at these groups, do you encourage them to get involved with like the other things that are already going on with Fenton?
Absolutely.
Like the boosters, the sports
Absolutely.
boosters, or athletic boosters, and the music boosters,
Yes.
and
PTO, if they choose to, also other
PTO.
programs, yes, we do.
Okay.
Right,
Okay.
absolutely.
Sorry to interrupt, but I'm gonna ask that question. Yes, it was information about the different activities in Fenton. The most minimal question it was answered, band boosters, athletics, how to get into those clubs or meetings. It was a lot of information, and they were asking,
Good.
and they were answered to those.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. And it's always great to have a board member there, and Sam was definitely there to back me up in English. We also had an amazing, next slide, amazing open house. There were about 217 parents that showed up. We had it in the field house. We had it both in Spanish and English. It was really organized and done well. Very positive atmosphere there and vibe there. I'd like to thank, again, Leo for attending, and Sylvia was also there present for that. And Patty, thank you, Patty, and I was looking around the room, and Patty was there with the booster, so it was definitely fantastic. Sam did an outstanding job there interacting with parents, or answering those questions. And this is really a time for our parents to ask those questions, to pull us aside. Hey, look, I'm concerned about this, or I just want to give you a shout out or celebrate this activity for you. So there was a lot of that. In general, very, very positive board, very positive. So we were very proud of that. Next one, to continue with assisting our community, we're going to have our next Food for Families on Tuesday, September 21st. This is basically, if you haven't been to one of these activities, it's a huge truck filled with food, 200 families worth, and it goes in about 35 minutes. And once again, shout out to Rick Cambick there, who puts this together, who communicates this out to all 3 languages, and just gets involved. Also, Paul has been a huge participant for this for about the last 5 years, so we're looking forward to continue that with our community. Is the need there? Yes. And I know Patty also works on the Saturday food pantry here in Bensenville. There's definitely a need for both, not just Bensenville, but also Wooddale. A lot of Wooddale folks come on over as well to participate in this resource. Meal Serve in general. This is for our students in general. Since pandemic started, 290,377 meals. Amazing. We're going to continue that all year. These are free meals for our students. They're very thankful for this, and it's just a great way, once again, to making sure our kids are fed both, not just for lunch, but also as breakfast as well. Activities fair goes back to questions we heard earlier. Hey, look, what do we do to make sure that our students are not just academic focused, with that's our #1 priority, but also having that real holistic learning experience here at Fenton. We have over 36 clubs and about 26 sports activities. We promoted that during the lunch periods 2 weeks ago, encouraging students to participate. We know, we have done the studies nationwide as well here as in Fenton, kids who are involved in extracurricular have better attendance, are more engaged, and have a higher GPA, okay? Usually by a grade point. Okay. So we continue to push that with our students. Student enrollment and demographics, we've continued to track this since it's the beginning of the year. You see the percentages there. We got about 1,450 students in our building. Next slide. 9th grade there, 10th grade there by grade level. There were, the reason for the 402 there at the 9th graders, some of our freshmen last year were not as successful to get all their credits, approximately 30 of them, so they're in the 9th grade status because of lack of credit. We are working with them throughout the year, providing them interventions as well as a means to graduate on time. So that's why that 402 number there. Some of the demographics, IEP, as you know, is our students with accommodations. There's about 15% of our population. Our ELL, 19%, are male and female. There's more males, 54%, females at 46%, and free and reduced lunch there, 46% free and reduced lunch there as well. The number is a little low. I think it's because of the free lunch we're giving and folks are not completing the free and reduced form. So there's going to be another, that is important to us as a district. We are a Title I school, but so there will be a campaign coming from our CSBO's office to identify the individuals that qualify and have them complete the form.
How often, what is the percentage usually?
Usually about 55 to 60%. Okay, we're there. It's early in the year. Okay, it's early in the year.
Is that the percentage we have to maintain, or is there?
It has to be over 50%. Good question to be a Title I school. We'll hit it. It's just people need encouragement.
So, of those freshmen, in the
Sure.
4-2, will they move on to sophomore year this year, do you think, or will they?
I think a majority of them. There's only 30. There might be a credit or two short to be considered a sophomore.
Okay.
It was a challenging year,
Sure.
not just for Fenton students, for all students across the country of COVID. Yes, we definitely hope so. We still have a very strong graduation rate of 93, 94%. We identified them their freshman year. We know who they are, so we have 3.5 years to make sure they graduate on time.
Okay.
TCD, real quick. We have 48 students involved in TCD. As you guys know, that's very important to our community as well as student. That number should go up a little bit next semester. Number of students enrolled in AP classes is 482. Perfect attendance. This is from the deans encouraging attendance. Attendance, as you know, is very important. If you're not here, you're not learning, right? It's kind of like the mantra. Our first day, we had 96%, and we're holding steady. This is September 15th at 90% attendance rate. As you know, we keep an eye on that. Our deans make visits, makes calls, communicates with individuals, encourages them to come to school.
How does that compare?
I would like to be a little bit higher, about 93%, okay, from the past years. So we got about 167 more days left. So
To get that average
to
up.
get that average up, no pressure.
Do we have a good reason or source of the 3% discrepancy? Probably just COVID or?
It's probably COVID, fear, hesitancy.
Plus, yeah, there's sicknesses or illnesses, we encourage the kids to stay home rather than maybe striving for that perfect attendance that maybe they've done in the past, just to be on the safe side. So a little bit different.
In regards to for activities and clubs, right now we have 21 clubs and activities going on. Just read a couple: band, chess, signal, fall, play, hiking, NHS, Tri-M, Girls Who Code, Student Council, Personal Finance, Link Crew, Language Clubs, Beat, Auto Clubs, Bison Buddies, Yearbook, 21st Century Grant, which is the grant that we were awarded about 3 years ago. Some of their clubs include cooking, gardening, and tutoring clubs as well. So once again, there's plenty of stuff to do after school for our students here. In regards to athletics, we have 6 fall sports going on right now. We got volleyball, soccer, cross country, track, and football. I asked our Power School coordinator to give me the number. As of today, there's 238 students who are signed up for at least one team or one club. We would like that to increase. We would like at least to be in the 500 range.
Say that again, there's 238.
238 students who are signed up for at least one club, okay, or a team, athletic team,
Out of 1,400.
out of about 1,400, yes.
Wow.
Okay, we need to increase that,
Well,
yes.
remember, this is the fall.
Yeah,
right?
this is just the
So
fall.
They could be in
A winter
club or
sport
activity or sport
or
that's later.
or spring. And many of our students work, and that's also, I consider that an extracurricular as well. Fall play, coming up on October 28th and 29th. Encourage the board members to attend. It's 12 Angry Jurors. And we move on to our equity report with Mr. Mike Barago.
Hello everyone, I'm Mike Barago and this is our District Equity Report. No news is too small, so kick back as I go over a number of exciting events that are happening in our district. First up is our parent group meetings from last week. Big shout out to Mr. Pedro Castro and Ms. Kathy Sater for hosting Unidos and Polish Parents Group. Mr. Ontenko and Mr. Benson helped welcome the parents as well as fielding questions related to school matters. On Monday, September 13, we kicked off our school-wide book study focusing on equitable grading practices. The book study is spearheaded by instructional coaches and Michelle Papanikolaou. On Tuesday, September 14th, Mr. Jason Mado led the first Restorative Practices group meeting focusing on the whys of restorative approaches to discipline for long-term positive effect on our students and providing them with a broader impact view of misbehavior, rather than focusing on punishments that has been proven time and time again to be ineffective. Today, our pilot cohort of instructional coaches, instructional technology coaches, and admins kicked off the first of 8 professional learning sessions with Highlander Institute on the topic of culturally relevant teaching. The Institute is well known for their work with schools all across the country. The goal is to improve student engagement, mastery, and competence, and empower students to leverage their cognitive skills in meaningful and transformative ways.
Jim, could you make it louder?
Sophomores who are first-time AP students gathered in the auditorium today during Bison time to listen to a panel of experienced AP students. The panel did a tremendous job addressing questions asked by students as well as providing tips on how to be a successful AP student. Tomorrow, our juniors and seniors who are first-time AP students will also meet with a student panel. Our equity action plan is underway as Strand leaders begin to meet with their respective groups. Today, the Student Voice Climate and Culture Strand, also led by Mr. Jason Madel, met before school, and Mrs. Michelle Rodriguez's group, the Family and Community as Agency Strand, will kick off their meeting tomorrow. The Professional Learning Strand, led by Mrs. Ranjana Rajendran, will be meeting this Friday. That will be their second meeting in 3 weeks. The goal of each strand is to identify possible barriers or needed support to ensure that we meet the goals that we have set for ourselves. Last but definitely not least, we kicked off our celebration of Hispanic Heritage Month today during lunch periods. We provided 3-ounce samples of agua frescas to our students while Mrs. Elizabeth Wright hosted hoja letrería, or Mexican tin craft, in the Ark. The celebration will continue for the next month with events every single week, including Latino film festivals, VR viewing of Latino arts and cultures, lunch specials offered by Arbor, staff and stories, and VR field trips to Latin American countries, visiting places like Chichen Itza, Machu Picchu, the Amazon forest, and more. A lot of great things are happening at Fenton High School, and I hope you're as excited as I am as we continue to chip away at our equity plan and meet our students where they need us. Thank you and have a great night.
Thank you, Mr. Barago. Moving on to COVID updates real quick. This is where I usually stand up, but I think I could do it here because last time I was told I got to be by a microphone. Real quick, what is our metrics right now? We're still high here in DuPage, but the numbers are going down. If you could see there in the grid, if you could go back real quick, I just want to go over with the board. There's about 1,345 cases right now. Our positivity rate is 3.9%, which is pretty good. A couple weeks ago, it was at 5.5. Total deaths is -10. Percentage of fully vaccinated individuals is at 70%, and new hospitalization is at 80. This new grid here, next slide, is basically the hospitalization, and I think this is key for us to look at. It's basically showing here, as you could see, the hospitalization of individuals with COVID it's going down, which is a good thing. This is a trend here in Illinois. Then the next slide here, I show this pretty often. I will stand up here a little bit because I can't see. Okay, this is total age here, and you could just see the three across all age levels. Okay, the number of COVID cases are going down. Next slide. This one is just the youth or pediatrics. The high school is the red line there on the graph, and the younger groups are in the green as well. So there's a trend going down. It seems like at the high school level, if you look at the red lines here, it's pretty much the same as last September. Here's just the high school age level individuals. Okay, we like that trend. We want that to go down. There was a peak about 2 or 3, 4 weeks ago. I think we're seeing the end of that. This one is also very interesting. As you remember, I like to put this graph up because at the beginning of the pandemic, 2 Marches ago, Bensonville was number 3 in regards to positivity rate. I think it has a lot to do with our efforts to vaccinate our population. We had a total of 12. We're way below 12, 13, and 14, as well as Wooddale. Bensonville would be right here, Wooddale's right here. Fenton cases. So how does it look here, Fenton? That's what matters here this evening, okay? As we started this new graph, this is Fenton cases, number of confirmed cases per week, okay, per week. So you can see at 8/2, August 2nd, week of 8/2, we had 0. Week of 8/13, we had blue is staff, red is students, so no positive cases for students, 1 for staff. We haven't had another case of COVID until 8/20, the week of 8/20, 5 students, 3 staff, and so forth. Okay, I think that makes sense. Next slide there is number of quarantined, okay, and this goes also by week. So August 2nd, we had 1 individual quarantined staff member, as you can see, that's related to the previous graph there. and the following week 813, and it goes up. One thing to remember here is let's look at the week of September 3rd and September 10th. One thing to keep in mind here is I think the logical thing to do is to add the numbers. So there was a total of 28 students on the week of 9/3 and another 46. That's over 72 students. No, that's not how you calculate that. How you would calculate that is because folks are vaccinated for a couple days, right? And some of the 46 there on the week of 9/10 were probably and was part of the student population on the week of 9/3. Okay, so I think that's an important case to make there. This next slide is a cumulative. Okay, so what does the number really look like in regards to COVID cases? So far, as of today, we had 7. Let me just correct it. As of when we took this data, okay, which was 2 days ago, 7 staff members has tested positive, and a total of 16 students. We like those numbers. Okay. I do. Okay. Real quick, what other ways can folks, our public, our teachers, our parents and students can look this up on our web? So we do have a dashboard on our website. So you go to our website, as you know, in the bottom left here, right there in front and center is quick links. You hit COVID information, you click on there, it takes you to a page, you scroll down, and here's the numbers. Okay. I like this one is because it goes by date. It clearly it clearly explains on the bullet points in the bottom of per that date, who did we report. A lot of folks are tired of my emails saying, hey, look, why are you sending this? Because we want to be transparent. This is how many kids we had today and how many staff members we have today. So that's where we're at there as well. So the public as well as the board are informed of the positive cases here at Fenton. We will also add those new graphs here on this page as well. So it's a little bit more informative, and it'll continue to evolve. Okay. COVID testing. We had one on, our last COVID thing was actually September 10th. I don't know why the 19th is there. It's September 10th. We did not have too many students show up. We had approximately 50. Okay, I think because folks know where to get vaccinations now. They're pretty much ubiquitous in both, in the U.S. pretty much. Vaccination and boosters. We do have a Pfizer booster scheduled with our partner Jewel Osco Pharmacy on October 15th. October 15th. Who are we targeting? Definitely our staff, as well as our other public school districts around us, District 2 and District 7, as well as the city of Bensonville and Wooddale. They're taxing bodies and first responders. Definitely our fire, our police, our park districts, our library, our village hall individuals. We want to offer that booster shot to them, and we'll offer it up to the general public as we get another date. So October 15th. We received 2 FOIAs this month. Amita Health is requesting our current athletic trainer contract, and Steve Still Company requested current licenses for cell towers on Fenton's property. We have resolved their requests.
How many do we have?
0. So is that accurate, Mr. Batson? Yep. No cell towers. There's a great picture of Bruce right there in front. So we're getting excited for Strategic Plan 2.0. We're not reading good to great. We're reading great by choice. Board members, I hopefully started at least the first chapter. It starts next Wednesday, September 22nd, 29th, and October 6th and 13th here at the ARC from 6 to 9. We have a great cross-section of individuals to make up the committee. We have students, we have staff, we have board members, we have community members, as well. So we're really looking forward to that, really looking forward to Dr. Joe Porto to facilitate the 4 meetings. It should be fun, and I will be cooking every evening for that with Mary Timmons to make sure you're well fed. You know that, yeah, the microwave. COD, dual credit enrollment, something very, very important to us. So we had that meeting September 3rd with COD. COD administrators met with our administrators and basically came up with 3 things. We're going to create an MOU, an understanding there with COD regarding dual credit and dual enrollment. Okay. Number 2, we're going to identifying Fenton teachers who qualify to teach dual credit courses. That's amazing, right? Number 3, reducing dual enrollment tuition for Fenton students, so less money for our parents. Okay. Now you're asking, why is this important? Okay. So I wrote, as you know, I spoke to their Board of Education there, giving them the reasons, and I just want to reiterate why dual credit and dual enrollment is important for Fenton. Number 1, students can explore the world of college curricula prior to their high school graduation. Okay. Number 2, it allows students to receive both high school and college credits while they are in high school. Number 3, it offsets college expenses for students and their families. 4, it shortens the time to earn a degree. 5, allows qualified students to reduce their course load when they are in college. 6, avoids duplication in course content. 7, eases the transition from high school to college. 8, students are more likely to start and finish college. 9, Fenton's dual credit students will establish an early relationship with COD, a win for all who are concerned that COD as well as Fenton students and their families. We're going to continue to make sure that relationship is strong and we have dual credit and dual enrollment here at Fenton High School. More work to be done there.
Is it open for all students?
Yes, absolutely. Next one is potential Fenton Foundation. Okay, I know this has been brought up a couple times here through my stay here, and once again with our president, Kit Tingpalpong here. Very important to moving forward, especially with our strategic plan. Okay, what is a school foundation? Okay, other school districts have this. It's very important. Okay, number 1, it's an outside of a regular funding sources, so it's another revenue source for us. Okay, a foundation will assist and generate financial resources to Fenton to serve as a catalyst in developing education initiatives that benefit all students. Number 1, that first bullet point, another revenue source outside of our regular revenue source. Number 2, through donation and fundraising, okay, it can provide new and creative educational opportunities for students and teachers. So the more revenue we have, more opportunities. It's a 501c3 nonprofit, not-for-profit organization. And number 4, members can be comprised of alumni, business members, community members, and administrators here as well. So that's something, just putting it that in your radar, that's something we're going to strive for and flush out in our strategic plan. Any comments, Kit, on that one?
Yeah, looking at, I think one of the things that would justify consideration and possibly forming it is looking at the financial and economic adversity that we might be facing, some of the uncertainty. So just to be able to diversify some of our revenue streams would probably be a good idea. And, this is pretty consistent with the standard practices with other education systems as well. So why not have, you know, Fenton, one of the best schools in the city area, do it too? So I'm with that.
Thank you. ESSER update, Bruce did a great job in regards to keeping you updated. We're going to continue to update the board on what we're spending the money on there. Just real quickly, we received a grant from the JCS Art Health Educational Fund of DuPage Foundation, $3,000 to our students that will go to our music program. Finance facility meetings. On October 20th, we have a finance facility meeting at 6 p.m. right here. Dr. Rob Grossi with Crystal Financial, one of our financial consultants, will be present to provide you Fenton's financial projections and potential referendum financial framework. More information to come on that. E.O. Sullivan consultant meeting for our viewers there. Who is E.O. Sullivan? The board has approved this consultant firm to work with Fenton in regards to a potential referendum. We met with them on September 7th. Basically, it was a meet and greet sort of thing. It was an informational topic for For E.O. Sullivan, they wanted to know more about Fenton, their Fenton goals, our priorities, our strategic plan, demographics, our strengths and weaknesses, school culture and practices, so they could better communicate with our community and keep them engaged.
Who was at the meeting?
That was with Colin and an individual, a brand new staff members, but Colin was there. He was here, who was
Yeah.
present here last time,
Okay.
yes.
I remember him,
And
but
the
like,
administrator who were
Who
present.
represented Fenton?
Oh, it was myself, basically 10 other administrators, myself, Sam, Jose, Michelle,
Okay, not
Rick,
parents,
Bruce.
no parents,
Or-
or?
They just wanted to go with the administrators at first, and that will expand moving forward. SIU negotiation, that's moving forward. Thank you, Patty Jalowicz, for being the board representative there. Next meeting is next Thursday, 9/23.
Other?
That's it for my report. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, James. Let's move on to the consent agenda. Do we have any questions or comments regarding the consent agenda? Patty?
I thought
I know you have questions.
I thought I had another question.
Sure.
But I think everything got answered. Oh, like on the personnel report, so, how many speech coaches do we have?
Top of my head, I do not know. Jose or Sam? At least 2.
So we just,
Could be more.
because we're hiring a new one, so I was just wondering,
I want to say it's 2, but I can double check and get back on you on that one.
okay.
Is that okay, Patty? I'll double check with Jose
Yeah, I
tonight
just-
and get to you tomorrow.
Because I didn't see that anybody was retiring, so I just was wondering how many we had. And then, like, teaching our kids to drive is really important.
Yes.
Like, what is the criteria?
That's a
Like,
great
How do
question.
you pick?
Oh, I thought
somebody
I
to
got
go
back to you on
behind the
that one.
wheel?
Sure, absolutely. Number 1, they have to be certified to teach our our kids.
Okay.
So, let's say, who can I pick on? Patty Jalloway, right there, wants to be a behind-the-wheel instructor. If you do not have a teaching certificate with that certain licensure, you cannot teach our students or be behind the wheel.
Okay,
So you need a
there's
certification.
specific
Yes,
certificate for
abs-
behind the wheel
yes.
and- okay, okay.
There's actually 3 speech coaches, so. just
3
to
now?
Clarify, there's 3.
We good? We good? Okay. May I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
So move.
I'll second.
Thank you. Please, can I have a roll call?
Yes, Wiedemann,
Yes.
Figueroa,
Yes.
Haid,
Yes.
Jalowick,
Yes,
Redzinski,
Yes.
Ting-Popom.
Yes, and motion passed. We move on to discussion items. The acceptance of the public hearing documents. May I have a motion that the Board of Education accept the certificate stating that the tentative budget for 2021-2022 was prepared and available for public inspection 30 days prior to the hearing, and that the publisher's affidavit of legal notice of public hearing and incorporate same into the official minutes of the meeting, please. May I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Okay, thank you. Please, roll call.
Wiedemann,
Yes.
Haid,
Yes.
Jalowick,
Yes,
Redzinski,
Yes.
Figueroa,
Yes.
Ting-Popom.
Yes, and motion passed. We move on to the adoption of the budget resolution presented by Bruce. May I have a motion that the Board of Education adopt the 2021-2022 budget resolution as presented?
So move.
I'll second.
Okay. May I have a roll call, please?
Wiedemann,
Yes.
Jalowick,
yes,
Redzinski,
Yes.
Figueroa,
Yes.
Haid,
Yes.
Ting-Popom.
Yes, and again, motion passed. Last, we do the adoption of the 2021-2022 budget. May I have a motion that the Board of Education adopt the 2021-2022 budget as presented.
So moved.
I'll second.
Okay, thank you.
Super quick.
Who wants to second? Is that, let's go to
I'll second.
Sylvia.
Thank you.
May I have a roll call?
Wiedemann,
Yes.
Redzinski,
Yes.
Figueroa,
Yes.
Haid,
Yes.
Jalowick,
Yes.
Tinkpopong,
Yes. Okay, motion passed on that, or it's approved. Now we go to the committee reports. So we start with the Bensonville Community Foundation.
I have nothing to report.
Okay, all right, thank you. The Board DEI Committee, that would be me and Sylvia. We have no activity on that. The Finance Report Facilities Committee, John and Paul.
Well, we have a finance committee in the October meeting. Yep. And as James mentioned, we have Dr. Rob Grossi present at that meeting. And other than that, I don't know, John, do you have anything? We'll have more to report after that We'll meeting? have more, exactly.
Thank you, thank you. ISB, Paul,
Nothing new there.
thank you. Lend, Patty,
James?
Nothing to report that we have not met.
and NEDSAC, Leo.
Well, we got a meeting last Monday. We were in the operational and the governing meeting, and we hear about many things, about the budget, the approval of the, well, I'm gonna say the money, where it goes. And we got a employee dismissal. She never report to work, even they tried many times to contact her. We hear about the Roselle annual inspection safety and navigation with COVID, especially with the kids and special needs. So it was interesting to hear about it. And the governing meeting, well, it was in my court, so we adopt the budget and we certificate that the dismissal for that employee. And it's all what we did Monday. Thanks, James.
Thank you, Leo.
Thank you, Leo. And we got the Board Policy Committee, me and Patty.
There's nothing.
Nothing going on there. We'll probably bring up some of the items we discussed as a board in the next policy meeting. So we'll talk about that in a little bit. So the next meeting is Wednesday, October 20th, 2021, and at 7 p.m. with a tentative finance facilities meeting scheduled at 6 p.m. prior to the regular meeting. Our first strategic 2.0 meeting is scheduled for Wednesday, September 22nd at 6 p.m. And may I have a motion and a second to go in closed session for the purpose of the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees of the public body or legal counsel for the public body, including hearing testimony on a complaint lodged against an employee of the public body or against legal counsel for the public body to determine its validity. However, a meeting to consider an increase in compensation to a specific employee of a public body that is subject to the Local Government Wage Increase Transparency Act may not be closed and shall be open to the public and posted and held in accordance with this Act, 5 Illinois CS 120 2C1, and collective negotiating matters between the public body and its employees or their representatives, or deliberations concerning salary schedules for one or more classes of employees, 5 Illinois CS 120 2C2. May I have a roll call, please? Or may I have a motion, please?
So moved.
I'll second.
Okay, thank you. And then we got a roll call, Mary?
Wiedemann,
Yes.
Figueroa,
Yes.
Haid,
Yes.
Jalowick,
Yes.
Redzinski,
Yes.
Tinkpopong,
Yes. And now we're going to go into closed session.
Jim, give.
Motion passed. And we go back in open session. No further business. May I have a motion, a second to adjourn?
So moved.
Roll call, please, Mary.
Do we have a second?
Yep.
Oh,
Leo.
Leo,
Leo,
wait a
okay,
second.
sorry,
Yep.
I didn't hear you. Wiedemann,
Yes?
Haid,
Yes.
Jalowick,
Yes.
Redzinski,
Yes.
Figueroa,
Yes.
Tinkpopong.
Yes. And we are adjourned. Everybody get home safe. Thank you.
Yeah.
Good night.
Okay.
Yeah, let's get to it.